Hi everyone, welcome back. So I'm gonna film my monthly haul today, and I'm gonna start off with the stuff that I bought at IMATS Toronto because I just got back from IMATS Toronto like 15 minutes ago. So I've got some new goodies to go through, which will be fun. But one of the things I gotta point out is that IMATS this year felt very small. I feel like a lot of the vendors were missing that we'd seen in years past. There were basically no lineups, which is very, very nice, but it felt weird. I've never seen an IMATS this small before, and I've been to the Toronto IMATS like 4 years running now. So it felt strange. Something has definitely happened in the last year because there were just like vendors were like I didn't even see a NYX booth, I don't think, which is weird because NYX is in Canada now as a freestanding store. But anyway, let's dive into what I actually got. So the first place I went was actually Morphe, which is not very like me. I don't tend to really love their products, but I do like Jaclyn Hill, and I wanted to look at her Morphe Vault collection. Sadly, they were only selling the palettes as the Vault, so you had to buy a 4-pack, and I was like, well, I really only wanted 2 palettes, so I just didn't buy anything, which was kind of disappointing actually. I did want to try some of those out. So after Morphe was a bust for me, we ended up going to Lit Cosmetics, where I bought a ton of glitter. Now, Lit has the best deal going on if you buy the glitters in Canada. They've recently upped their price though. It used to be 3 glitters for 30 bucks, and now it's 3 for 35. But the price is the same no matter if you're in Canada or the US. So obviously if you're buying in American funds, that's more expensive for Canadian. So I always pick them up now only at Toronto IMATS just because it's a much better deal. And if you have a press pass like I did, they actually give you 4 for the 3 price tag, which is amazing. So I've got a ton here, and in picking these all up, I've just realized that they've given me an additional one. So I don't really know what happened, but let's run through these. So they have a collection out that is neon, but I thought they were neon glitter. They actually more look like pigments with a little bit of shimmer through it, so I'm a little bit thrown by that, but the colors are beautiful. This one is London Calling, and it's a bright sort of periwinkle blue. This one is Beyond Pink, and it's funny because this one looks super pink, which is not something I tend to gravitate towards, but it seemed to be a little bit more coral than the other pink that I saw there. I also have Kabang, which is a bright neon orange, and then Reboot, which is a neon green. I realize these are kind of hard to see, but I can't really open them or the pigment will dump everywhere as I try to show the camera. For more standard glitters, I have Sunshine and Lollipops, which is really like a fun neon orange kind of color, but it looks so similar to Solar Blast that I'm wondering if they just renamed it. So I'm gonna go compare this to my Solar Blast, and if they're the same, I'm just gonna end up throwing this in like my giveaway pile. They really look different online though, which is why I picked that one up. I also have Oprah, which is kind of a copper pink. It's not a color I tend to gravitate towards when I'm buying glitter, but I find that sometimes I just want a more subtle glitter for the lid, and champagnes and pinks tend to be that kind of subtle glitter. So I grabbed that one. And then I've got one here called Sugar and Spice, which is another pale one that, again, is not something I tend to go for, but I thought I should sort of branch out of just buying colors all the time. It's kind of a pink with some rainbow shimmer in it. And then I got Ziggy Stardust here, which is a very vibrant gold yellow, beautiful color. So those are all the ones that I purchased. And then as we were checking out, the guy noticed my shirt, and it says I eat glitter for breakfast, and he was quite taken with that. So he's like, hey, do you have our disco dots? And I was like, I don't really want to spend more money on glitter because I've already bought a ton. But he just brought over disco dots. So these are basically like confetti type glitter. They're large, so they're not something that you would just dump all over your lid. They're more for like placing in different areas. And he just like handed one to me, and I think he gave one to Sam as well, who was with me. Even though she wasn't buying any glitter, he still handed one over. And I was quite pleased because I had actually been looking at just buying this outright. So when he handed it to me, I was like, that's really nice. And then now that I've just opened my bag, I've just noticed that I've also got a pot here of You're a Star, which is like the dots, but it's just silver shaped. Silver shaped, it's star shaped. So they must have just put this in, but I already got an extra one because I was pressed. And anyway, I don't really know why I've got extra of these stars, but I used to put these all the time on the outer corner of my eye. I copied it from a friend in my teens, and I just loved putting it there because it looked so cool. I used to use chapstick to get these to stick on my eyes, by the way. And I still have a few from that era because it's just plastic, and I kind of want to do it again. It was such a fun look back then, and I still want to do it even though it's like 20 years later. Anyway, that's my addition to my lit glitter collection. I have 10 more now. I'm pretty sure I already had like 20 or 25, but I love lit glitter. They make the most fun glitters. They're not that expensive really, and they're even better at IMATS obviously. And I want to own them all. So I'm really happy to have added more to my collection. So while we were at IMATS, one of my eyelashes started to like ping off on the inner corner, and I was like, shoot, what do I do? Because I hadn't brought lash glue with me. So we went over to Kiss, and they have fake lashes and of course lash adhesive. So I bought a tube of lash adhesive. It kind of pains me because I have so much eyelash adhesive here at home that I'm like, I don't want to spend the money on buying something that I already have, but I was kind of desperate because I was at a makeup event. We had just gotten there and my eyelash was like sticking up, and I'm like, well, this looks atrocious. So I picked up the strip lash adhesive, even though I already own this one by Kiss, and stuck my inner corner of my lash down. But then since I was already there and I already love their eyelashes, I picked up a 4-pack of their Page Boy lashes. These are nice because the band is translucent, so it makes it really easy to apply to your eye. Just because you don't have to be worried about that black band kind of sticking out, and you can draw over top of the translucent band with black liner to hide it even more. I love Kiss lashes. I've talked about them for years, and I just feel like they're one of those great inexpensive brands that people can go to for lashes, because you can buy these at Walmart and they're super freaking cheap. So not that they're cheap in quality, in terms of price tag, they are very cheap. So yeah, bought lash glue out of necessity and bought lashes because I love the brand. So my very last stop ended up being at Violet Voss, and I decided to pick up the Rainbow palette. I had looked at this online at Sephora several times and almost pulled the trigger, and in fact I almost got it during this past sale, but I'd kind of just stepped back and been like, you don't need it. But honestly, there were so few vendors at this IMATS that I kind of was like, well, if you're not spending a ton of your money, just go buy the palette that you've been eyeing for quite a while. So I did. I picked it up. It was only 35 Canadian, which is really, really nice. The packaging is cardboard, which is a personal favorite of mine. I prefer cardboard packaging over anything else, really. And the shadows on the inside, as you would expect for a rainbow palette, are rainbow. The only thing that I think is very strange about this palette is that there's a black and a white. I don't really agree with that in this kind of palette. I wish that they'd just gotten rid of the black and white and like made a few more colors of the rainbow kind of intermittently, especially because indigo and violet are so similar. It feels like the black and the white are kind of like a waste of space. Also worth noting is that these are all shimmer. So if you're looking for a matte palette that's a rainbow, this is not the one for you. I'm kind of curious what the looks are gonna look like coming out of this, because I know that I don't tend to love just shimmer looks because I think they look a little bit strange on me anyway. So I'm definitely gonna be pulling in some other palettes. I'll probably pull in a lot of my Inglot mattes when I'm using this. But yeah, a lot of people have recommended this to me, and I posted that bright eyeshadow palettes video, I think it was back in March, and that video did so well, and I really enjoyed the feedback on it. So I'm planning on doing like a follow-up to it. So I've been trying a lot of brightly colored eyeshadow palettes. I mean, more than my usual. But I think if this is good, I would just include it. So I'm eager to try this one out. I've been liking Violet Voss since they released the hashtag palette, so I just want to try more of their shadows. Anyway, outside of IMATS, I did pick up 2 more things throughout the month, and one of them was during the Sephora sale. Now, I didn't actually like go ham during the surprise Sephora sale because the holiday stuff wasn't out yet. I wasn't really prepared. I didn't feel like I needed anything, and so I only picked up one item, and that is the MAC Iridescent Powder. This is a loose powder, and the shade is Silver Dusk. At one point, they discontinued this powder, and I was really heartbroken. Now, I actually already own this powder, but my tub of it is probably 20 years old, and that's not a joke. It might actually be older than that, because it would have been one of the first products that I bought from MAC when I was 13 or 14 years old. Yeah, so it's like 22 years old. So it's come to my attention that maybe that's kind of disgusting and I should replace it. But when I went to replace it, they just discontinued it, and I was like, oh. But Sephora recently started selling MAC, and they had this powder that they've now brought back, and I was like, well, okay, don't miss your chance now. Go buy it on sale before it gets discontinued again, because you don't want to be without it. Anyway, I have to report that the product is no different than the one that I have from 1995 or however old that is. And it's pretty much just a loose shimmery powder. It looks kind of like pinky peach in the pan, but it really just goes on as a silver sheen. This is probably not going to show up on camera at all, but the silver pearlescent reflect to it is so gorgeous. It's not one of those super bright highlighters that reflect like a moonbeam off of your cheeks. This is more subtle than that, but there is some little specks of glitter in it that really show up. I've been wearing this powder for a very long time, way before I knew what highlighter was, so I'm glad to have it again, but it's just funny because the one that I've got that's ancient really doesn't perform any differently than this new one. But I didn't want to really be keeping a 22-year-old powder anymore. So I picked up Silver Dusk again. Can't recommend it enough. Clearly I've been using it for several decades now, and it's a long-term favorite of mine. One thing I wanted to pick up during the sale, but I noticed that Sephora stopped selling them, is the Makeup Forever Aqua XL liners. They still have the boring colors, the black, the brown, the charcoal, there might be a blue, but they've stopped selling like the turquoise or the pastel colors that they have. I wear these kinds of pencils a lot on my waterline. I've got the green one on today. I wear the blue one a lot. I've got a lavender one, and they had a yellow one, but I never ended up picking it up, and I was just kind of like putting it off, and then when I was like, okay, pick it up during the sale, come to discover that they don't sell it anymore, or at least they don't sell it on Sephora. So I reached out to a friend of mine who actually works for Makeup Forever, and she was like, yeah, we still have them at the Pro Loft in Toronto. Do you want to come pick one up there? And I was like, well, that's amazing, absolutely. So I went up to the Pro Loft and got the yellow liner that was missing from my collection, because they have several pastel colors, but they don't have the full range. Like they don't have an orange, and I don't think there's a pink, but I wanted to complete my collection of pastels. So I got the yellow one. It's the shade M40, and it's really just a pastel butter yellow that I'm going to be using on my lower waterline. I use this when it's like a complementary color to the eyeshadow that I'm wearing, and I'm just happy to have it. I wear these so frequently, and I always recommend them, but they've stopped selling like the exciting colors. I know the American site does have more than the Canadian does, so if you're in the US, maybe you can get your hands on some of these. Otherwise, if you're in Canada, or more specifically Toronto, you have to go to the Pro Loft, which is kind of disappointing because they're a lot of fun. So that's it for my haul for September. That's everything that I've picked up throughout the month. I am eagerly looking forward to holiday launches, but not everything has been released yet that I want to get my hands on. Specifically the Too Faced Gingerbread Spice Palette. Oh, I want it so bad. It's available in the US, but it's not on the Canadian side of things. I'm like, oh, just give it to me. So I'll be buying that when it becomes available here, and there's a few other things I want to pick up. So I'll definitely be grabbing some of the holiday stuff that's coming up. Let me know about anything that you're interested for the holiday launches. I know not everybody's into them because they feel like they're limited edition, and maybe that's not really, you know, useful in the long run because people stop talking about the limited edition stuff, but I really get into the holiday collections because I think they're so much fun. I love the themes. Anyway, I've babbled on long enough. Thank you so much for watching today, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.